Welcome, everybody, to Cycle Jerks Podcast, episode 120. I'm Mike Stewart, your host, joined as always by my co-host, Dave Dalton. Dave, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I kind of missed the lovely and talented, but okay, that's
It's a bit of a
I,
stretch, but
I knew you've been lying to me all these weeks.
yes. And today we're very excited to be joined by Nicole Nicolay. She is a realtor by day, a high-level athlete by dawn, and the founder of Love Livermore. She recently qualified for, competed in, and finished the Kona Ironman World Championships. This was a goal of more than 10 years. Nicole, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, holy smokes. So let's start at the beginning. Dave always corrects me and wants to start at the very beginning. So we're going to try something new where I'm going to bring up the very beginning. So Nicole, where are you from originally?
I was born actually in Livermore, California.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm Tri-Valley original. I was raised mostly in Pleasanton though.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you find the bicycle? When was yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I will say I probably found my love of the bicycle when I was growing up in Pleasanton, because back in like the 80s, like how else were you supposed to get around town? Because parents didn't drive kids around like they do today. So I would ride my bike to swim practice. I'd ride my bike to school. I'd ride my bike across town to visit friends. So that's when I truly fell in love with like just being on the bike and the freedom of the bike. And I still remember my purple Univega bicycle, but I found like as an adult, living in Livermore, you see all these people cycling and I would see people on the weekends in the back roads, and I just always missed that feeling of freedom on the bike. But being a mom and business owner, I was like, oh, I don't have time for it. And in 2012, I just decided it was time. I was like nosing around, looking at the bikes at Livermore Cyclery, and I met Bob, the mechanic in there, and I met Melinda and Steve, and they were like, why don't you get a bike? And I'm like, I don't even know where to start. So 2012, they helped me pick out my first real road bike.
Every time you would come in the shop, Bob would remind me of that. I helped her get her first bike.
He did. He ordered it for me, so I feel like I really owe a lot to Bob, and he knows that. I got him some Betty swag before I left for Kona, and I was like, I expect you to wear this pink hat.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in the pink hat, but I'm not there all the time. But yeah, Bob's certainly one of the best mechanics in the Bay Area, and a really great guy. Been in the business for a long time, so we're very fortunate to have him as part of our immediate cycling community. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I second that emotion.
All right, so you get your first bike, and then you got to go ride it. So what did you have someone in your life that was a cyclist that you could partner with, or was it just more like, I got this bike and now I'm going to go solo out around the mountains?
I feel like I'm going to be like name dropping here, but I love taking spin class, and so that's kind of like what drew me to like wanting to get the bike outside. So I was taking spin classes a lot, and I had a great spin instructor friend who also rode outside. But also instructing at the same gym was Flavia.
Oh.
And Flavia saw my passion for the bike, and I would talk to her about it, and she's like, just get the bike. And so when I got the bike, she gave me some tips. Obviously I was nowhere near, I didn't even know how to like switch. I didn't even know there were two rings, first of all. And so I get the bike, and I had all these friends, and they're like, yeah, but I can't ride with you. I will go ride with you, and I'll give you some tips. And so I basically went back to Bob and I was like, okay, what stuff do I need to wear? First of all, because I'm a woman, I got to look cute. And like, so got the Livermore cycler jersey, got the shoes, got all the stuff. He helped me with a flat kit. I didn't even know how to change a flat. And he was like, just go ride. And so one of my friends said, yeah, ride toward Del Val, Mines Road. So the first ride I ever did, I remember, like, my husband took a picture of me on the driveway and I was like, okay, I'm going. See you later. And so I rode to Del Val, and you'll laugh because Mr. Hill repeats over here. I start climbing. I'm like, this is so fun. Wind in my hair. I love it. And then I hit the climb, right? And so I'm climbing, and then I'm like, oh crap. Like, this is really hard. I don't know why I'm not cut out for this, but I have a long way to go. Well, I was climbing Del Val in my big ring, and I didn't know how to change the gears. So I was like riding, I had no idea. I thought there was only gears on like one side, and I was confused by it. So I was like, man, I'm really going to have to do some work here. So that was my first ride.
Well, credit to you. You didn't pack it all in right there, because, that kind of experience could be something that's just like, okay, well, this is not for me. I know.
Here's a question out of left field. Out of left field. So this is 2012, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How old are your kids? You said you're a mom with kids. How old are your kids at that time? And I asked that because that's a starting point for a lot of parents, right? Like, all of a sudden, well, I don't have to take the kids to soccer practice anymore, so now I've got more time on my hands, right? So
true. I was 36 at the time, so I'm 47 now. And my kids were 5 and 7.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, now I had kids going to school, for most part of the day. So
got it.
When I chose to do this ride was actually during, like, I had dropped them off at school. I had time. I owned 2 real estate marketing companies prior to becoming a realtor. So I was in the process of selling both those companies. And so I had a little more flexibility with my schedule. So it was kind of like my little midlife crisis of like, okay, I'm selling my companies. I don't know what to do next. Let me buy a bike.
Yeah. Midlife crisis in your 30s.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's not true. Gosh.
Well, now I'm learning, like, now that I'm like well into my 40s, approaching 50, I'm like, okay, like, I was so young and stupid.
Weren't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for years, I worked at the other bike shop in town, Cal Bicycles, as a young kid, and I just remember thinking, mountain bikes just kind of became a big thing, and we were selling mountain bikes like crazy. It was during the bike boom. And I just remember feeling like, we're selling these people mountain bikes, and they're going to go to Del Val, and they're going to go straight up these godforsaken fire roads at 20% grade, and they're never going to do this again.
Yeah.
And sadly, that was the fate of a lot of people. We had people that would come back like a year later with their bike that they bought, and they'd be like, I rode it twice. Can I trade it in, or can you give me something for this? Can you help me sell it? And, this area is very challenging for cycling, particularly off-road riding. The off-road riding here is really brutal.
Yeah.
And so, but you experienced that on your road bike, going up Del Val in the wrong gear, and you stuck with it. And
well, what kept you going?
So my friend that was a cycling instructor, the spin instructor, Julie, she marked off every Friday, and that was her like outdoor ride. And she was like, hey, on my next outdoor ride, do you want to come? And now that you've like tested out your bike and you've got all the stuff. So yes, of course I want to go. So we would call it cycling therapy. It was like Cycle Therapy Friday. And we would just like, I was selling my businesses. She was going through a divorce. Like we would just like go and she would like rant and talk about all these different things. And then I would like be like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And, and so we would just talk and ride. She also showed me how to change gears. And she was like, there's 2 rings, right? And like, you have to click over here and you have to click over here. And like, so we did a whole thing. She taught me how to change a flat tire. Like we were just goofy cycle girls, like just riding around. We had like mismatched random cycling kits,
say it isn't so. Say it
oh
isn't
yeah.
so.
Like there was no pink. There was no pink for me then.
Well,
So it was
come
really
a long
fun.
way.
Yeah. And then because I am who I am, which is like a very competitive person, it wasn't enough to just do like cycle, therapy Fridays. Like my mom had just done, my mom said, why don't you sign up for like the Cinderella ride? And she's like, you can do that. I rode it on my hybrid bike. And I was like, okay, here's my mom in like her early 60s riding the Cinderella in a hybrid bike. Of course I could do that, but I didn't have any friends to do it with. So I just signed up. Actually, Melinda, it was sold out. So I'd had the bike for maybe 4 weeks at the time. And she was like, I can get you in. Carolyn and Melinda got me in because it was sold out. So I like kind of rode on behalf of the shop at that time. And they were like, nice. You can go and do it. So I showed up and it rained that day and I had like a little windbreaker and I was like, okay, this will be fine. Like, and I just remember like setting out on the bike and there was nobody in front of me. And I was like following the directions that were all wet. And I was like, where is everybody? Like, and it was like, I thought this was a bike race and like, it wasn't a race. There was one other girl who rides around here today too. And she was riding at the same time. And she was like, wow, she's like, you're fast. And I was like, she's like, how long you been riding? I'm like, a couple weeks. So she like taught me how to we were just like riding in tandem and she was we were trying to block the wind from each other. And so she and I like definitely had a good, I just remember going over like some of the hills and people, Cliff Bar being out there, and they were like, here's our leaders. And I was like, see, it is a race. And she was like, no, it's not. But yes, we're kind of like leading the group, so, but that was a fun first experience. And then after doing that, I was like, oh, I should sign up for a century ride. So I did Tierra Bella, like, I think 3 weeks after that. And I'd only had the bike for like maybe 8 weeks at this point, 6-8 weeks.
You're all in.
So I did. Yeah.
It's interesting. Some of our guests have had this similar experience where they get a bike and they immediately do a century. It's pretty wild when you think about it, because even now, all these years later, you're cycling, it's not that common to go out and do 100 miles. That's a big day for just about anybody. And here you are 7 weeks into your cycling journey. It's like, yeah, I'm doing a century.
Yeah.
Well, that often, unfortunately, Mike, is like the hills for the mountain bikers. Someone says, well, okay, my friend's doing it, I'm going to go get a bike. And then they do 100 miles and they do it, but they're so miserable that they never go back. Right. So, again, it's kudos for sticking with it. Did you do now, because it is a big deal that to turn around in 4 weeks and bang out 60 miles and go do 100. Were you an athlete before that? Was there some foundation that you had?
Well, I grew up a swimmer. Okay. And so I was a competitive swimmer for like 13 years when I was a kid. Gave it all up to become a cheerleader at the end.
I'm sure that broke your parents' heart.
Oh, it did. There was like scouts and like scholarships, and I was like, no, I made the cheerleading team finally after trying 3 times. So yeah, I gave it all up to be a cheerleader. And then I went to college. I really wasn't super active in college other than like doing keg stands. I was really good at those. But love a beer.
Yeah.
And then I had fast forward, like once I started having kids, and like you kind of figure out like, okay, well, I need something for me. I wanted to get my body back. I gained 60 pounds with my first kid.
Whoa.
And I'm a tall person. I'm a big girl. So I'm 5'10". So
Yeah.
I needed to lose some weight. I was like pushing over 200 at the time.
Yeah.
So I went to the local gym and just started doing like workouts, and just kind of found my way back through that competitive nature from swimming, and translated that into just like, okay, let's get your body back. Let's take spin classes. Let's take kickboxing. I just jumped right into like finding my better health and like that sort of realm. But it really wasn't like through a sport or anything until I got the bike.
Yeah.
So the bike came first. Hopefully I'm not fast forwarding too much. When did you
Yeah.
introduce this silly thing called running and into your whole repertoire, and the running and swimming?
So on that, this is like, it's very apropos. So when I signed up for that century ride, Tierra Bella, I was again, like, I didn't know anybody. I don't even know how I heard of Tierra Bella. I think maybe I was just talking to people at Cinderella, and some people said, you should try a century ride. And so I looked it up, and Tierra Bella, there it was. Didn't realize there was like 6,000 feet of climbing, and I would have to like write up Henry Coe, which literally had me seeing like stars.
Yeah.
But while I was writing, this is the cutest thing. So my kids are like 7 and 5 and 7. My husband's like, so you're going to go ride 100 miles by yourself? And I was like, well, there's other people doing it. So he brought his truck, and the kids came, and they had a copy of the map. And I am getting to answer your question, I promise.
No,
So
this is a good story. No, this is cool.
so they have the map. I'm riding around, and they're picking different stops, and they're setting up the chairs in the back of my husband's like Tacoma, and waiting for mom to ride by. And again, it's like raining because it's March.
Yeah.
And so I'm riding by, and they're like, go mom. And so while I'm riding out there alone, I found myself behind these two women that had about like the same speed, but I didn't know cycling, like, I didn't know I didn't know, say like, could I ride with you? Like, and
Right.
finally one of them turns around and goes, hey, ghost girl back there, come on up and ride with us. And it turns out they were really strong cyclists, but one of them was the bike coach for Team in Training. And they said, of course, how long have you had this bike? And I'm like, oh, about 6 weeks. And they're like, what? Like, and you're riding this fast? Like, you're doing great. And I was like, I didn't know what fast was. I just was riding the bike.
Yeah.
And because I don't even think I had a bike computer at that time. Like, I didn't even know anything. So they were like, you should do
probably better that you didn't, right?
It probably is. Yes.
Yeah.
And so they were the ones that said, and I was like, what's Team in Training? And so they told me, they were training for an Ironman. I was like, what's an Ironman? And that's when they said, do you know how to swim? I said, yes. And they said, do you run? I said, hell no. I hate running. I will never run. And then that's when they said, there's no shame in run walking.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Game changer right there.
Yeah.
Let me digest that one. Nope.
Yeah.
Still not sold. Still not sold.
Yeah. For me, it's like the swimming. Oh my goodness. The thought of swimming a mile or more. Are you kidding me?
How about 2.4?
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. So, but
wait, let's just give a shout out though. You stumbled on a great organization. This year I did Team in Training, the loop around Tahoe. And a beautiful ride, but such a great organization, and such a great way to find like-minded people and like-minded abilities, and a fantastic way to build up to some kind of event. So
1,000% I agree. I at this time so I was like selling my businesses, like I told you, but also my cousin who was 28 at the time had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And so at the time I was like really devastated. We were very devastated about her being so young. And I wanted to do something. I was kind of mad and angry. And when they said team in training, and then shortly thereafter, I was rear-ended out on Vasco in a car. And so I kind of needed to I got shaken up, definitely had that shake me up a little bit. So I was like, okay, how do I get I had to miss being out on the bike for a while. How do I get my bike fitness back? How do I do something that's meaningful in honor of my cousin? And that's when those ladies from Team in Training called me and they're like, hey, did you hear Ironman just announced the very first ever Ironman Lake Tahoe? You could raise money in honor of your cousin, do something, get your body back, all these things. And I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just nailed it. I hate to, I don't want to belabor the point, but it's an ability a fantastic way to do something that you love and do so and have some good come out of it other than your personal well-being, and for such a great cause, right?
And they're such supportive people, they're super positive, and I just wanted positive people around me, because when you aren't quite sure what your next step is, I'm a big idea person. I'm a dreamer. I'm definitely competitive, and but I just didn't know what my next step was going to be after selling my real estate companies. I didn't know if I wanted to be a local realtor. My parents were realtors and brokers, and it seemed like a natural place for me to go. But I had just stepped away from being a national speaker and traveling all over the country. And, so for me, I just was kind of confused also. So I took the emphasis off me and put it on somebody else. And I think Team in Training kind of really helped to focus me in on that.
Well, and to think the idea came out of left field, really, right? I mean, hey, just a suggestion.
Yeah.
That to go do this thing that you proclaim to them that you hate running.
Yeah.
And they still had you in mind because of, the conversation that took place. And then fast forward, I mean, when did the dream really hit you? You said you're a dreamer. When did the dream hit you for, I want to do the World Championships in Kona?
So let me ask one more question about this.
Okay.
I just want to make, so you're still, sorry, Mike, but you're still a couple weeks into the bike, right? You're not, this is Tierra Bella, right?
Yeah.
So now we're going from a couple weeks on a bike to Ironman Tahoe. So, and when you say Ironman, what are the distances that you're going to do?
So 2.4 mile swim. 112 miles on the bike. That seemed like no brainer. Of course, sign me up for that. And then a full marathon of running. So 26 miles. And of course, I'm not a runner at this point. I've never ran a half marathon. And you can't pay me to want to run, basically. Yeah. So, but I figured when they said there's no shame in run walking, I was like, okay, but I'm competitive. And I remember the mentor gal that was assigned to me, Missy, called me and was like, okay, hey, it's Missy from Team in Training. We're so excited you signed up. What's your goal? And I was like, I want to finish in the 12-hour range. And they were like, she was like, I remember her not laughing, but I could feel her on the other end go, you're freaking crazy. Nobody just says I'm going to do an Ironman and I'll finish somewhere in the 12-hour range. And I had no idea. I didn't know how I would feel obviously getting off the bike and then trying to run and all these things. But I figured I looked up, I Googled, I was like, what is a really good time for finishing an Ironman? And they're like, anywhere in the 12-hour range is really above average. And I was like, okay, that's what I want to do, be above average.
So you just said, let's go to Mach 7. It would have made no sense to do an Olympic distance first or something like that.
Yeah,
Let's just
no
go.
Triathlon ever. I'd never done a triathlon.
Let's just do the full Monty. Okay.
Yeah.
I can relate to this, to your mindset.
You can?
Oh yeah.
What specifically can you relate to? What do you have an experience that
just to go above and beyond. That's kind of
Mhm.
been like, I don't know, kind of like my whole life. I just, when I go for something, I go
Yeah.
for it.
Do you
And
remember the first time in your life where you felt like I I want to be special, I want to be above average, I want to go all in and do something that's, more than just expected? Do you remember that moment in your life, or was it just there?
I've, it's weird, but it does involve the bicycle. I feel like it was in BMX when I was a
Mhm.
kid, because I had played a lot of team sports.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I was just like craving like a different type of attention. I loved the camaraderie of the team, but there's
Mhm.
something about doing it on your own. And I
Yeah,
remember
that control.
yes, and I went to a BMX race when I was 13 on Mother's Day. My first ever BMX race was on Mother's Day. And my mom still supported me during all my BMX adventures, but she wasn't very happy that my first race was on Mother's Day. And I got second. And
Awesome.
I
Excuse
just
me.
remember thinking like, this is it. This is where I'm gonna really focus on this. This is gonna be my thing. And I just got really into weight training. I was doing sprint intervals up over off oh, I can't believe I forget the name of it. Right off Portola. There's like the housing track in there that goes
Oh
up.
yeah, yeah.
There's that starts with a W. But anyway, I used to go do wind sprints on my BMX bike, and it was all about just getting faster and getting better on the bike and improving my skills and everything. And I don't know, it just started me on this path and with my career and everything. It's just like it's a good scaffolding for. I mean, it's a problem. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
It's a problem, but it is a good problem to have because you throw yourself at something so hard that can be challenging for the people that you care about around you. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that's really one of the things about your story that's so amazing is that here you end up doing one of the hardest things there is to do, which is qualify for the Ironman World Championships and then go and do it. And you do it with the support of your family. Uh, it's awe-inspiring, really. I don't know
You
how you
know,
do it.
my husband and I were actually talking about that last night. He was like, I don't even think you realize how you enroll everybody that you love into whatever big goal and big dream you have. You get us to all support. But he was like, I was like, yeah, I rally people. He's like, yeah, I don't even think you realize you're doing it. You like enroll us in this whole process. And he's like, don't get me wrong, we love being a part of the process and a part of this. He's like,
Yeah.
but he's like, he knows I'm like working on writing a book right now. And he's like, I think that should be a whole chapter about how you enroll people into your big ideas. And he's right. Like, I mean, when my kids were that young and I chose to do the first Ironman and go to Tahoe, like I had my parents came, like, I mean, multiple sets. My in-laws came from Oregon, like everybody was there to see me cross that finish line. And I had local people volunteering up there to like be the catcher when I crossed the finish line. I mean, I had people driving from the South Bay that like, I mean, it was an incredible experience. And I think, and it was so hard because it had snowed the night before in Tahoe. And so the warmest part of that race was actually in the water of Lake Tahoe. And I just remember finishing, and I finished in like 15 hours because I basically like walked half of that marathon. It was brutal. And but I finished, and as soon as I came across the line, of course, all the tears, and the next day comes and you buy your finisher jacket. And I just remember looking at my husband at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna qualify. I'm gonna race Kona one day. And I just remember him again, like
Oh
it's like
shit, really?
it's like they were like, you just finished the most horrid race ever. They don't even do that race anymore because there was so much that DNF rate was so high. And here I am, and I was like, yeah, I did that. And I think I'm gonna sign up for another one and try to race. I didn't think it would take me 10 years to like actually get fast enough and finish in such a, way that I would put myself in qualification contention, but hey, it's been a great journey.
You
Well,
said you made that comment, and everyone that you had enrolled just rolled their eyes and went, "Holy shit! I guess we're going to Hawaii."
Yes.
Right? They knew
well,
immediately they were on the team.
Yes,
yeah,
they're on my team. It's a team.
I have to wonder, like, so 15 hours,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I've done some long events. There's a point where this thing that you're passionate about, that you care about, that you love, and you're just like, you're all in on this. But there are points where it's just like, good Lord, I still have 3 more hours to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, and like a lot of people would maybe, as wild of a ride as you're on right now, this trajectory, a
Hmm.
lot of people may just do that triathlon and feel like, check, that's off my
Yeah.
bucket
Yeah.
list.
That's it.
Time
Yeah.
to move
Exactly. That's
on,
what.
but not you. It's like, I'm going to Kona.
Hmm.
And then also the mental fortitude and everything that's involved to get 10 years, 10 years commitment to get to your goal. I mean, that's it's awe-inspiring. I said that once before when I was talking about your family. Yeah, I was going through your Instagram feed and I was
Hmm.
just looking at a bunch of stuff, and this comment that you had about first off, I thought Nicole should write a book. That's what I thought when I'm going through your Instagram feed. And
Hmm.
so here you are writing a book. So that's pretty amazing. And then I noticed this post that you did about your son on National Sons Day about how you worked out on every country that you've traveled to, and that is what Reggie's talking about how
Hmm.
you rally everybody. That was a great example. I thought, wow, how cool is that? Like, that was a great post, by the way. I really like that.
Oh,
But
thanks.
yeah, so there is a skill
Hmm.
to rally those around you and get
Hmm.
them to be involved with what you're doing. I don't have that skill. I don't think
I
my
think you
son.
do.
You think so? My
You
son is
had me already thinking about like, I mean, even just after I met you and I knew you were doing all these hill repeats, and then you like, during COVID when we were all in lockdown, and I really leaned into like writing Zwift, and I remember
oh
we'd go
yeah.
back and forth, and I was like, I really wanted, you know, I really want to ride a sub 60 or what, like
Oh yeah.
for the Alp. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it. And so you like inspired me to like keep trying. And then I would see you out on Del Val doing all the hill repeats. And I was like, that seems like a really interesting goal, this Everesting thing. How? And then I started asking him, like, how many times? Like 53, 56 times? How many
Yeah.
times do you go up Del Val? Like, and then I tried writing up Del Val. Like after 5 times, I was like, that's fucking crazy.
Well, thank you for saying that. But the reason for that is, the reason I say that about myself is because I tried with everything to get my wife into
Mm-hmm.
cycling,
Mm-hmm.
and my daughter too. And they just, my wife's not really into
Yeah.
fitness exercise, and my daughter got really into soccer, and I had a blast with soccer. It was so
Yeah.
cool and fun, but she never really gravitated towards a bike. But my son, he's as into cycling as I am. So I got one
You
out of
got one
four.
out
I
of
got
three.
yeah,
Good
one out of
dad.
three. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what though? But I'm gonna take a slightly different tack though. Okay, so maybe they're not out at every one of your events. They're not standing on the side of Del Val while you're doing your Everesting. But the
Yes.
fact is that the fact is they're accepting what you're doing, right? So on
Yeah.
some level you've enrolled them. And that's, I think, any one of us around here that are as passionate about it really owe a debt of gratitude to our families that,
Absolutely.
that
100%.
accept that accept that we're gone for 5 hours on a Saturday and then another 4 on a Sunday or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean,
And
it's
I think they're
in
doing,
some on some level you've enrolled them.
I think they're doing more than accepting it to some degree too, because they're not giving you, I think, especially as a mom, like I hold guilt for like, maybe I was there for almost like most of my daughter's soccer games, but there are some times where I would like literally miss them, or I would literally get half my ride to the soccer field, watch it, you know, the
Yep.
game, and then like right away. And
Yep.
I think when your family sees what you're passionate about and how happy it makes you, they want you happy, because you being happy means they're actually going to be happy, because you're going to be supportive of what they're doing and encouraging and in a good mood. And so I think enrolling means not necessarily they're doing it with you. It means they are encouraging you on those like, Mike, you asked me, like, how do you stay focused on a journey that takes you 10 years? It's like, when there are so many times where I was like, God, another freaking, 70-mile, 50-mile ride. And then I got to run off. I'd get off the bike from like hammering it, and I'd have to do a run off the bike, and I just, sit out front. My husband would bring me a Coke out front and be like, well, you better go do it. Like, so when you have that it means accepting, it means encouraging us, being supportive, not throwing the guilt, our way,
Right.
because that'd be pretty easy to do while you're always out on your bike. And so we could be doing this if you weren't always out on your bike,
Yeah. Well, and that's something I feel very fortunate about, is I do have support in that way. Right. And in a way, it could be harder if we were both doing it, right? Because of the amount of time that it takes. And like, I have friends that where there's them and their spouse are really high level athletes, and sometimes they can ride together, but a lot of times they can't because of schedule or what have you. And it just becomes very taxing to where they both have their goals and they have their careers, and they're like two ships passing in the night, sometimes for weeks at a time, because it's just so demanding. But yeah, no doubt. I wasn't trying to say anything about my family not supporting me, for sure, because they clearly do. And guilt is a huge thing. And yeah, I don't feel any guilt. But I also, I think all of us, you try to squeeze it in where you can, where it makes the most sense, where you can sacrifice maybe a little bit more.
Like 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah, sometimes.
Those are not my favorite sessions.
Yes, right. But like you said, athlete by dawn. And I think a lot of us do cheat in the morning because, if you don't have these goals, you sleep in a little bit. Maybe you sleep until 8. Well, by 8, I've maybe got 2 or 3 hours in on the bike. And then, you haven't really sacrificed family time to achieve this goal that you have. So
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that 10 years if we can.
Yeah.
So it was a goal that you set, and it took you 10 years to get there. Did it, and I don't mean this to come out wrong, but it didn't take you 10 years to get to that. Did it take you 10 years to get to that level, or life just kept getting in the way and you finally got around to it after 10 years?
I think there was a lot of things. Like, I had just started my real estate business. I was literally launching a new business. Even though my parents were in real estate, they were like, go out and find your own clients. So I started doing open houses that first year. I did an open house every single weekend for an entire year of other people's listings, to try to build my business. And I was training I decided to take a break from full Ironman to try to get faster by racing half Ironman distance. So, because at that point I was like, okay, I need to get a coach. So I kind of like used the team and training coach, who kind of branched off and did his own thing. And I kind of bounced around over the next couple of years with like some different coaches, trying to figure out like, how could I design a lifestyle that allows me to basically build a new business in real estate locally, and do it creatively the way that I want, via like Love Livermore, what I've done with that community group. And how could I also train and like be a mom all at the same time? So I was trying to it took me definitely a few years to like figure out how to do all these things simultaneously, or like have an ebb and flow to my routine and my schedule, so that I could do that and also build my fitness. And I knew that it was going to take me a while, looking at people's times and looking at where I finished, to know that I could finish fast enough to possibly qualify. I knew that was going to take me a while, because I entered the sport at a time where apparently a lot of women are racing, and maybe they have the time to train more. I don't know exactly, but why that is, but it definitely seems like the 30 somethings to the 40 somethings are really tough age groups to break through. And so I had to kind of figure out, how am I going to get there? So it definitely, and you can't look like, I thought it would happen like maybe 5 years in, like 3 to 5 years in. And I got to like the 3-year point. I was like, shit, this is going to take a while. Like,
Yeah. So how does the qualifying work? You know, so is it like there's these qualifying events and then you have to finish within so close to the leader? Is it something like that, or how does that work exactly?
so basically every age that Ironman has races like all over the country, all over the world, right? So if you want to race Kona, you have to race a full distance Ironman. You can't race a half distance. So those are not they have their own qualifying events.
Okay.
So I knew I was going to have to come back to racing a full. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I'd look at all of the qualification and the number of slots, and it was very limited, because at the time, basically for the last 9 years that I've been racing, except for this year, the Ironman World Championship was split between men and women. But like most of the race was like 80% men, I want to say 20% women. And so the slots that there were for qualifying for Kona would be like one. There'd be like one slot per age group. So you have the pros, and maybe you have amateur winners. And those people, if they won, obviously automatically qualify. If you win your age group, you kind of automatically qualify. And then beyond that, maybe sometimes there were definitely more slots offered to men versus women over the last several years. And over, I'd say the last 3-ish, 4-ish years, there's a group called Women for Tri that's been really pushing to bring equality to men and women in triathlon. And so more slots were starting to be offered, like they negotiated with Ironman and then started providing more slots. And then I'd see people that would have pretty close times to what I had in the last couple of years. And I'd be like, well, they're qualifying. And then, so I'd like look up their events and I'd be like, okay, well, maybe if I go to, Tennessee or somewhere else in the country, there would be less people that would show up, and then I would have a greater chance of qualifying. And that's what some of my coaches would tell me, because here in California, as you know, we can train 24/7, and most of our races sell out so fast, and the field that shows up is incredible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's a blessing and a curse living out here, right? So.
It is. But it also makes you realize, like, I've got to try a lot harder, and I have to get a lot faster if I'm going to even be, in contention. And so, my goal then became like to finish before it could be like Kona. I knew I was going to have to at least break into like the 12-hour mark of racing. And so I started signing up I did Ironman Santa Rosa like 3 times. First time I did it was like 13 hours and 10 minutes. The next year it was like 13 exactly. And then then I did like 12:57 or something. And I was like, okay, I made it into the 12-hour range. And then after that, like COVID hit, and because I had done these races kind of back-to-back years, and then COVID hit, and I was like, well, maybe like I'm not going to race Ironman anymore. Like, I don't know. There's no races. I was on Zwift. I bought a gravel bike. I was out in the hills of Brushy riding gravel every single day. And then I didn't know if I would have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow. So where did you end up qualifying for Kona?
From Ironman California, of all places.
How about that?
I thought, well, so I'd basically, 2020 hits, we're locked inside. All that I'm doing is riding Zwift and my gravel bike out in Brushy. Like every single day I had this goal where I was like, I wanted to ride at least 2,000 feet of climbing in Brushy Peak every single day for as many days as I could do it. And I think I did like 90 days in a row. I'd see the same people. I met some great people out there. I had a great time and I got a lot of bike fitness from it. And I was swimming a lot. My husband is a great runner, so we were running trail, and I was like, I kind of have my fitness going. Maybe I should just do one more. I kind of thought I almost like gave up on the goal, and I was like, well, let's sign up for Ironman California and see how it goes. And I didn't give myself the goal of qualifying for Kona. I said, I just want to have my fastest, best, or just a really solid, good race. And so I signed up for it, and then that year that I had signed up for it, 2021, there was the bomb cyclone.
Oh,
Remember?
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't race that year. So I went home disappointed. And I was like, I did all this training and I'm not going to race an Ironman. I'm doing this. So my poor family, I was like, okay, I have to do it next year. And they were like, you should do it. So I just kept training. I went back in 2022. And there was no bomb cyclone, but we had like 30-mile-an-hour headwinds and then like crazy like wind gusts. People were on the side of the road, like, just taking a breather because they were blowing all over the bike course. And everyone thought like this was going to be a PR course. And I told everyone, I'm like, I'm going to finish this bike course in under 6 hours. You watch me. Like, I can't wait. I'm going to do, and I finished in like 6 hours and 3 minutes. I was so pissed. But I didn't realize like that was actually good. I finished like 4th off the bike.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Or 3rd. It was like 3rd. I was in 3rd place and there were 122 women in my age group. And so when I got off the bike, I had like a really solid swim because it's a river swim. So I finished the swim in 52 minutes. And then I got off the bike with a really solid time. And then I had to run. And we all know what running is like for me. Horrible. Like, I just remember like shuffling along and everyone going like, that's okay. Shake it out. You can do this, and, and I didn't have a bad run. I ran the whole time and I was smiling and I was just happy to be out there. And then I finished, but I finished 14th and I was like, shit, that's like, that was a solid, really good race. And I finished in 12 hours and 46 minutes. So it was good for that year. It was a solid out of 122 people. That was solid.
Yeah.
Again, there was only one slot for my age group. So I didn't initially qualify.
I had no idea it was the slim pickings. That's incredible.
One here I finished like in the top, but there was one slot. So I didn't. So when I left there, I was like, all of a sudden my competitive spirit was like, shit, I had a really good race. Like I should try to pick something and maybe try again. And so that fuel for Kona was like that race had stoked it. And then I had heard that Women for Tri and Ironman had picked like 3 or 4 races where they were offering 100 slots for women. And so I was like, oh, that's sweet. I should pick one of those races and see if I can get a slot. If I finish 14th in California, what could I do in Texas or somewhere else? So I signed up for Ironman Texas, and that race was literally like 6 months after Ironman California. So this past April. So I was like, I'm going to go to Texas and I am going to throw it down. And I was training for it. And I got to Texas and I had a PR. I finished the bike in 5 hours and 43 minutes. I had like a great race, finished that race in 12 hours and 21 minutes. Yeah. I finished 19th because everyone and their mother showed up to that race because they were like, I'm going to get one of those slots.
Right.
And so, but they said, hey, I bet you it will roll to, 20. Like, I bet there'll be people that don't want the slots. And so there's a good chance it will roll down because I had finished 20th, I believe on that one, 20th, 19th or 20th. And so we were sitting there watching the whole roll down process and who's getting slots and qualifying. And it comes to my age group and my husband's so cute. He like totally believed in it. My teammates were there. They were like filming this. This is going to be my moment. I was going to get the slot. And then nobody was passing on the slots. Not a single woman let it roll down. And I missed the Kona slot by 1.
Oh,
shit.
So I was like,
Uh.
I left like in tears. I had like, I think I cried for like 3 months, like in my like closet crying, like, I can't believe I missed it. Like, I just was like, I'm never gonna get to do this. It's never gonna happen. And then I let it go, and we took my family on we went to Europe for 3 weeks and I still remember being in a in a hotel room in Sorrento, and something like triggered me. Oh, somebody else had qualified on my team, and I would be so happy for them to be qualified, but I'd look at these times and I'd be like, but I finished faster. And that's a hard thing as a competitive person. You're always like, you want to say you're not comparing yourself, but you are. Like,
Sure.
you are, and you're like, if I had done that race, I would have finished and I would have qualified. And so it was like different people were going to these races and qualifying, and I just felt like, how come I missed it? And that's when my husband said, honey, sometimes it takes luck, and sometimes things aren't fair. And
Right.
and then I just remember crying in the hotel room, and my daughter looking at me and going, well, you just got to keep trying then, Mom. Like, you have to keep racing. And then we got home, and it's now July, and I get this email from Ironman that says, hey, we went back to some of the most competitive races, and we are giving slots to those people that basically we feel we're offering some more slots, that races that should have had more slots.
Oh.
And so I
Nice.
ended up getting that email, and I got a slot from Racing California.
How about that?
Yeah.
What did that feel
Nice.
like?
I screamed and was so excited and elated. And then there's also part, like, within 5 minutes I had signed up, and I was like, I'm doing this. But so that was definitely the overarching feeling. But I think the other part was that at this point, what had happened with Ironman is they split the men's and women's races up. So now this was the very first year where the men actually are racing in Nice, and the women are racing in Kona, and then next year it switches, right? So this was going to be the very first year ever that the men's and the women's fields races were completely separate. And I think because of that, and Ironman's a business, they were offering more slots than they had in the past, definitely to women. So I think there was like some negative connotation that was happening, like, oh, women are going to Kona that really wouldn't have necessarily qualified in the past, or
Haters gonna hate, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's really amazing so there was this, like, articles came out about like accepting your slot, and should you accept your slot, and do you deserve to be there? And so I think a lot of women, I mean, I felt like I deserved to be there.
For sure.
But I know a lot of women felt like maybe I don't deserve to be there,
brother.
And, yeah. And what's really cool though about this race is that a week ago, nearly 2,100 women started that race in Kona from 73 different countries. And 100% of them, every single woman made the swim cutoff. That was like the first in Kona history, where every single person who started the race finished that swim race, so the swim portion, and 97.5% of all of the people racing finished that race. Highest finish rate in Kona ever.
Wow.
What percentage was it again?
97.5.
Incredible.
So the women came to race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wonder why it's curious why they would take the men, why they would split it like that. I guess they're just trying for global growth or something. But one of the things, we had a guest on a few weeks back, Matt Fitzgerald, wrote this book, How Bad Do You Want It? Dave and I have been talking about this book, and It's an incredible book. And in there, he chronicles Paula Newby Fraser and her career. And one of the things that made her such a celebrity was that she finished like top 10 men. You know, she was not only the first female competitor, but she was in the top 10 overall. And that was like something that just set the tri world on its heels. You know, nobody expected anything like that. And so by removing the men from the competition, you know, a moment that Paula had that can't be replicated again if there's an athlete that can hit at that level. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that they would do that, but like you said, they're a business and trying to grow. You think that's what it stems from?
Oh, I think it's 100% that they want to, you know, definitely grow the business and keep it profitable. But I also feel like there's a pressure for them to have equality, you know, women more than ever, women in sport. There's, you know, definitely louder voices that are speaking up and trying to get that equality and trying to have women be more seen in their respective sports. And so I think, you know, it definitely has changed it. I think there's definitely some men that were pissed off this year that they had to go to Nice and do a different course. But I think there's also a lot of men that I know, one in particular that lives not far from me. And he was so thrilled to have the opportunity to go to Nice and had an amazing time. And then it's going to swap. So next year, the women are racing Nice in 2024, and the men will go back to Kona. And it's also partly because Kona cannot, in order to make the races equal and give enough spots to both men and women, you cannot have, you know, 5,000, 4,000 people all racing on Kona at the same time. That little area is just not going to be able to support that many people.
Yeah,
so
not
they
enough
really,
capacity.
yeah, and they tried 2 different days at one point. Like last year, they had men all on one day. They had women and then some men's age groups also racing with the women to like separate the two to have everyone race. And it was just, again, too much. Kona said, we can handle 1 day of racing and that's it. So that's when I think the decision also that kind of forced their hand into having to do the 2 locations.
Well, I mean, I guess on some level, I get, you know, you've been training and you said, you know, because it's Kona, right? I mean, it's got that name. I get it. But at the end of the day, the greater good is getting more women involved. And, you know, I don't run, I don't swim. I solely ride my bike, and it's depressing to go to some of these events and see how few women are actually participating in the races, you know? And so sometimes you find the women get lumped in with the men, or the women's field is 5, and it's like, God, you know, so whatever it can do to get more women involved in these things it's, you know, so yeah, it's a business, but props Ironman, you know, shout out. So
Yeah, it's been really fun, or I don't know if fun's the right word, but it's been exciting to see like the development of professional women's cycling, getting a lot more. I mean, they're just desserts. I mean, for years it's just been a joke that they didn't cover the events, and you know, they didn't even allow women to they didn't have a women's Paris-Roubaix because the UCI thought it was too tough. I mean, how stupid is that? And then, you know, and ironically, I feel like gravel was a big part of it, right? They started this equal pay for men's and women's podiums, and really they did a great thing elevating the women's sport in the US. And then here comes UCI. We're going to have the world gravel champs, and they don't televise the women's event. It was just like, oh my
yeah,
God,
I was so
happening?
pissed. I was so pissed.
Yeah. So, but all that
Hey,
said, even with that blunder on UCI's part, it has been really great to see women's cycling celebrated and given the airtime that it deserves. And yeah, the Tour de Femmes, that's an amazing event. And obviously Roubaix and some of the other events that are now televised, and we can all watch these amazing women do their thing. And so we're making big progress, and Ironman sounds like they're following along with that as well.
Yeah, they have announced too equal pay for podiums between men and women, and
Outstanding.
so they are doing some things like that. There's some new professional triathlon organization just came out that they're doing some neat things with equality in men and women. So I think we're just going to continue to see that happen, and I think we just need to be vocal, and we need to sign up and show up. Don't be discouraged by whatever, just sign up and show up and have a great attitude and speak up at the same time,
Yeah.
So as I said, I got to get this because I know Mike's going to go, okay, we're winding down here. But I actually did write some questions down. So if I don't get them, it'll bug me all day. This is back off. So all about the women thing. So, but I'm going back to you're prepping, you're training for Ironman. You're a mom. You've got a job. How many hours a week? Like, I know what it takes. I had this discussion with some friends, like to be, when I was training, it was, okay, you want to be a competitive Cat 3 racer. It's 350 to 500 hours a year. I'm sorry, on the bike, 350 to 500. And then I thought, well, okay, I want to be a competitive Cat 2. What does that take? And the number was like 800. I go, I'm tapping out. I don't have I don't have 800 more hours in the year. How many hours a week does it involve to get to that kind of elite level, if you will? Given the fact that you've got to do it across 3 different disciplines.
I would say the average is anywhere from like 10 to 17 hours, 10 to 20 hours, maybe, give or take. I would say I average more like 11 to 14 is what I would try to do. Like 14 hours is kind of, where I would try to take things up to. Maybe beyond that, right before the race, it might get to 16, 17, even more, just really depends. But I have to be a weekend warrior for the most part, and I'm training almost every single day. So Monday might be like strength and like swimming, and then Tuesday might be a run and a bike, and then Wednesday's back to swimming and strength and maybe something else. So, I'm having to double up workouts, and I'm maybe spending like an hour on the bike and then an hour swimming, or 2 hours on the bike and 30 minutes running. Like, that's how the mid through the week kind of looks. And then on the weekend, I am definitely having to get up early because I need to get at least one long ride and one long run in. And a lot of times it might be, 50, 60, 70, 100 miles on the bike on a Saturday, and then a run off the bike. And then, maybe a 2.5 hour run in the hills behind my house on Sunday. So, and then I'm going to hold an open house afterwards, or like negotiating contracts. Like, I literally 3 weeks before I had Ironman Kona, planned to ready to go, I got 4 new listings here in Livermore. 4.
Oh my gosh.
3 weeks before. And I told Reggie, I'm like, I'm going to get all of those in contract. I don't care what the market looks like. I'm going to get them all in contract before we leave. And I had been invited to MC a tech conference in Miami for real estate. So I flew to Miami, emceed a conference for 2 days, told everyone on stage because they all wanted to know what was going on with Ironman. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm going to get these 4 listings in contract. And literally up until right before I was about to race, the day before I was going to toe the line, I got the 4th one in contract. So, it's a constant ebb and flow to manage all these things, but I don't see who I am can be any other way. I thrive with momentum in my life. And I feel that some people really need that momentum going in their life. When things are not moving, I feel I don't know what to do with myself. I'm looking for that next like big thing if I don't have big things to work on, or at least one big thing in my life to work on.
Well, that speaks to
Props.
your competitive drive too.
Mhm.
The fact that you got those 4 listings and it was just like, I'm putting them all on contract before. That's just like, that's you as a competitor right there in a nutshell almost, The training to me, it seems like, because I was just kind of looking through my Strava to see what kind of hours I put in. So we put in similar hours. I'm like 15-ish a week, and it's like, to me, I think the hardest part would be all these different disciplines. And are there ones that you look forward to, and are there ones that you dread? I mean, obviously you've stated that you hate running, but also that doesn't necessarily mean, like, you could be seeing really significant gains there, which might make you feel differently about it. Whereas maybe the bike's plateaued or your running's plateaued because of your background with swimming rather. How do you manage that? And then are there the dread sessions?
There's definitely always dread sessions. Like when I think about like the long run and how long it's going to take for me, and like, am I going to be able to do what I need to do? But I also, like you said, like I do tend to have certain times where I feel like I've plateaued with swimming. So with swimming, I feel like that's the one area where it's like meditation for me and it comes very easily. But at the same time, I can get really laxed and not make progress if I'm not challenging myself. So this year I joined the masters group so that they can kick my ass, and then and that helps. And so I find different ways to like keep that motivation going. Same thing with like writing. Like I love writing and training with my Betty bestie Macbeth. And so, and she makes things fun, and she knows me really well. Like, we can go have donuts, but if we're going to hit Collier Canyon or mines, she'll say, go, Nick, just go. Like, cause she knows there's some sections that I just love to hammer, and she's supportive of that. So it's kind of nice when your friend knows you so well and she's like, you should hammer that, and, but also like writing with people that are faster. Like I love when I see you on Del Val, climbing Del Val, I'm like, okay, I gotta not, no slack in here, and so I think writing with like faster people, like I do like writing with men, and I have that competitiveness in me. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm a fast chick over here. I can do that too. Like, I think that's fun. I mean, I love writing with fast women too. So like just people that are faster than me, and trying to push those limits. Like, it's hard to beat your own Strava segments when you've like ridden the same roads like for 10 years in a row. So I try not to always look at those segments, because even though I do,
We all do. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's kind of, that can be daunting. But, and then with running, I just, I'm just trying to find ways to enjoy it more. So like I've been hitting, as we get older, joints are like, can be cranky. So I've found that trail running is really more fun and enjoyable for me. And it's just as challenging because you've got plenty of hills. Like our location where we live offers all the challenge we can get,
Yes.
And same thing with the bike, like just changing it up, riding gravel, riding mountain bike. I recently got a mountain bike, and that's really hard for me, and so it's really fun to find new ways to, as I'm sure you do too, to vary what you do so that you're not getting bored or plateauing, and you still are connecting to that original passion and competitiveness that you have.
Yeah. Well said, for sure.
So how do you keep going now? You kind of hit the pinnacle, right? So you've done this 10-year, you've fulfilled this 10-year dream.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep going?
Do you have to make
what's the
an
motivation?
announcement? Do you have to make an announcement to your family? Like, okay, yes, I achieved my goal, but now is there a new goal?
I
The
mean,
reason I brought you all here today.
yes.
Yeah.
There's always got to be goals, right? The journey is really never over, and the journey is really what makes it the most fun because you're learning along the way. So
Yeah.
I can't stop like racing. That's not who I am. Like there will be new races. There will be new challenges. Like I love the bike so much. And I feel like because I've been focusing on improving my run and other things, you know, I would like to, my coach asked me yesterday, what are your goals for next year? And I was like, more watts, like more power. Like I want more power on the bike. I want to challenge myself more. And you know, I definitely want to see where the bike can take me in the future. Like I love gravel. I'm getting more into mountain bike riding, but I can't like totally walk away from triathlon. And I say like, oh, I'm going to retire from full Ironman because it's so hard on my body and training, but I never say never. I mean, I'm sure there'll be something in the future, but for now, I'm really excited that I've gotten to this point, and I want to lean into some other things like Pilates and strength building and taking care of myself as I'm like, you know, heading into my menopausal journey of being an older gal, older-ish gal.
Uh-huh.
And and also just like my kids are like getting older and they're, you know, one's already out of the house. My daughter's a senior, and my husband is an amazing runner. And so we're going to do a relay, an Ironman relay. And I get to do the things that I love the most, swim and bike, and then he can run. And we've done one in Santa Cruz the last 3 years. And every year we come in like fourth out of like 65 teams. And most of the teams are all three men
Okay.
specialists. So I'm always doing the part of like two men to try to beat those times. And we've come close, but we haven't podiumed yet. So I kid him and I'm like, we have to podium. Like we have to be the two man team, you know, mixed sex team that like podiums and beats all the three men teams. And so I think that might happen soon.
There
Yeah.
you go. You got a goal.
New goals, new things.
Right.
Do you
Well,
have any suggestions?
I mean, you know, obviously with Ironman, it's time, right? The book we were talking about, Paula Newby was obsessed with trying to break 9 hours, and I guess at this event, they
had the most women finish under 9 hours than ever.
and they also set a new mark, right? A new
8 hours
standard.
and 24 minutes, Lucy Charles. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So,
Oh,
and for the longest time, it was thought that no women could do 9 hours.
Yeah.
And here we are, 8:20. Yeah, incredible.
It's so incredible.
there you go, Iron. Yeah,
The haters.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well,
right there. Yeah. Don't
yeah. Go
wait.
ahead,
Big
Dave.
question before we go. What's the book about?
I think it's gonna be mostly kind of about around the question I asked Mike earlier is like, when in your life did you feel that maybe you were special, or did you not, or that you wanted to do something that was above average, and you maybe felt like, well, I'm just average. I can't do this above average thing. So, in a nutshell, you know, basically, how do you capture that moment of when a passion pops into your mind and you want to take it to the next level, but maybe you think you're not good enough to do that? Because I definitely feel like a lot of us struggle with that. I didn't think I was, you know, special enough or good enough to ever do something above average necessarily when I was younger. And it took me a long time to find that confidence. So I think I want to explore that topic. And I definitely have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah. You know,
There we go.
I think everyone has that feeling, right?
Mhm.
And I think everyone's capable of it, of
I
doing something
absolutely
special.
agree.
It's
Mhm.
just, do you tap into it? Do you find that whatever it is, something happens to you, and you get this drive, and it's a beautiful, wonderful thing to have happen to you, because everything changes from that point on. And you want that for everyone. And
I
maybe,
want that for everyone. I want that
yeah,
for, definitely we want that for our kids, right? So
yes,
I think it's
yes,
a hard journey because everybody happens upon it differently. Some people find it right away in their life. Some people find it later in their life. Some people will say that they don't think they ever found it. And I think that that's not true. I think everybody has it inside them. And it's just about, like you said, tapping into that.
yeah. All right, so I do need to wrap. I have a thing I got to do at 9 o'clock, so I do have to wrap it up. But I wanted to, one of your posts, you talk about suffering and pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are two things that most people try to avoid at all costs. And you have to, as a cyclist, as a runner, as a swimmer, you have to embrace these things because it's part of the program. So do you have any specific coping mechanisms that you've developed for managing the suffering and the pain?
I would say, yes, I do. I have, I mean, your mindset, right? You have to like, it's all about like acknowledging the pain and the suffering is happening, and then kind of putting it in its place or leaning into that. Because my back was hurting, my back hurts, my different things hurt, like all, you know, we all get those moments. So I would say I sing songs in my head
Barry Manilow.
that are really, yeah. I have a playlist that I listen to when I train that's called Champion, and it has all these different songs on it that inspire me, and it changes. And then I try to pick, so when I'm like thinking of my race plan, I like write out each discipline, swim, bike, run, and I like have different songs that basically I'm playing in my head to focus on and come back to when the pain hits. And then, you know, there's other tricks in there too. There's mantras and things that I say, but I've found that singing songs or having a soundtrack in my head is like the best way to move through that.
Yeah. So I remember when you put that list together because you had reached out, I think it was just social media, and I submitted the song.
Yes. Champion the Roots.
Yes. Oh,
Still on there.
if you're a champion, show me you're a champion.
Show me you're a champion.
Yeah, it's such a great song. But so yeah, music, I think for a lot of people is a great coping mechanism. But one thing I got out of the book that I keep referencing is there was a Siri Lindley is a triathlete, and she had tattooed on her great gratitude and believe. And so it kind of plays into what we were talking about, how some people never tap into it. And if you are able to tap into it, have the gratitude. And so for me, like a lot of times I'll be doing these hill repeats, and you know, it's painful and things happen, you know, and some days are better than others. And there's just, you still got to push through, hit your goal for the day. And I find if I just think about how fortunate I am that I'm able to do these things, right? Yes, it's painful and I'm suffering, but I have,
but gosh, I'm here. I'm doing it.
yes, right? Yeah. So yeah, so that's helped me. It's just being grateful. I'm doing this by choice, and I'm able to do it because I have a supporting family, and I have managed my life in a way that gives me time to do it. And so, yeah, gratitude is. How about you, Dave?
100%. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, Dave, do you have any tricks?
Well, it's funny. It is so. I told you I was kind of down in the dumper, but reading this book, how bad do you want it? And yeah, I find myself all of a sudden starting to suffer, and I'll be asking myself as I'm doing it, how bad do you want it? Right?
Yeah.
I wrote, as a matter of fact, someone asked me about the other day. I did really shitty on a ride 2 weeks ago, and the title of my Strava thing was, I guess not very, I guess didn't want it badly, right? And yesterday, last Wednesday, same ride, it was like I guess I really wanted it today. type thing, and that's when so I find myself asking that question when it starts to hurt. And then yesterday, in 2 days ago, in an extremely painful moment, you said music. I found myself singing a song. I'm in a group, so I don't have headphones on, right? So I can't be listening to it. So I found myself singing a song from Squeeze. So but it just took my mind off the pain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. And back to the book, the premise, one of the premises in there is the mind is the athlete, right? And so I've been doing these things on my hill repeats lately where I'm trying to do the last lap, or the last 2 laps are going to be, I'm trying to make them my fastest laps. And as hard as it is, after hours and hours and hours, as something I'm just challenging myself, like you said, to try to keep it new, keep the challenges coming, whether it be joining the masters group or whatever. That's one way that I'm trying to train my brain to just make the body's going along. The brain is in control, and the body has to do what you're telling it to do. You're not going to do the opposite and let the body tell the brain what to do. Yeah. So yeah, these little games that we play are all helpful. I've been listening to books on Audible too.
Oh, I listened to books. I just had one quote that like I think about too in response to like your brain and controlling your mindset. I've listened to like so many mental strength books along the way, and one of them by Tim Grover, who was he was Michael Jordan's trainer and Kobe Bryant's trainer.
Oh,
and,
wow.
So I listened to, I just wanted to kind of like get in the mind of those athletes that like seem to be like in in the zone, so to speak. Like, what does it take to be in the zone? And his winning formula that I actually have on my phone and that I've thought about, and I have it on my, I have a vision board I create every year, is control your thoughts and you control your emotions. Control your emotions and you control your actions. Control your actions and you control the outcome.
Wow.
And,
all right, what's the book called?
Is it? Yeah, it's a little long for a tattoo, so I'm going to have to write that down.
For a tattoo, but it goes well in your notes section of your phone when you need to like pull that out. But I just bring it back to starting with controlling your thoughts, and then everything after that is like, okay, if I control my thoughts, then I'm in control of my emotions, and then I can control what I'm doing, my actions, and then that controls the outcome. And it's in the book. I believe it's called Winning.
Okay. Yeah, I'm listening to this book now on Stoicism, and it's ancient philosophies for a modern world. Ooh. And it involves Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor, and Seneca was one of the first philosophers of the Roman Empire. And a lot of those principles from Tim that you just described are in the Stoicism ethos. I'm just starting to learn about the Stoicism, but yeah, so much there's a lot of great stuff out there, but I'll definitely look for that book. And
well, I'm going to definitely look up the book that you guys have been quoting here too.
Oh, highest recommendation. It's incredible. Yeah. And we did have him on.
How bad do you want it? Yeah. How bad do
you want it? And I want it.
Yes, we all do. And
we all do.
We had Matt Fitzgerald, the author of that book. He was on the podcast episode 118. So if you want to find out,
I'm going to listen. And that's a great title for a book. Maybe I could tap him and help him. I'm such a big picture person that I'm like trying to like, I get stuck on like the name of the book and like working on the chapters. I've been journaling for the last several months leading up to this, but like the big picture part is really important to me to like. So it's hard to, I almost like want to start there and work back from it, but you can't always do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we went a little longer than usual.
I know you got to get, you got things to, we all got things to do. We got to ebb and flow.
Yes. Thanks for your
time. I got to pee.
That too. Tiny tank. On the Ironman, where we pee on the Ironman.
Oh,
right?
No, let's not talk about that.
I don't want to leave us on that note. So say something poetic. or inspirational?
No pressure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, rather than poetic or inspirational, I have to wrap it up. That's not very
Yeah.
inspirational. But okay, so Nicole, thank you very much. Very
Great
exciting.
story. Thank you. Yeah,
Congratulations.
great story.
Yep, and we'll all be watching along for whatever's next. Sounds like you're still kind of determining what that's going to be.
Mhm.
Can you let everybody know how is the best way for them to follow along?
You can follow along with my journey on Instagram. I'm Nick, NIK_NIK, or you can follow my work life on lovelivermore.com.
Great. All right. And also, those of you Cycle Jerks regular listeners, if you have any feedback for us, we would appreciate it. You can reach us at Cycle Jerks Podcast 2023 at Gmail. Please send any notes, questions, comments, send it to that address, or you can DM us right on Instagram. If you'd like to become a subscriber, cyclejerkspodcast.buzzsprout.com and push the subscribe button. If you like what we're doing, give us a positive review. We appreciate that. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
Nicole,
Yeah.
Nicole, next time your derailleur's not shifting right, you go in, say hi to the crew at My Buddies and say hi to Bob for me.
Oh, I will. He bought an extra derailleur for me, and I took it with me to Kona just in case.
There you go.
What a guy.
He is.
All right, guys.
You
See
guys
ya.
are the
Thank
best.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank
All right.
you.